After a lot of pressure from within his own party, the UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has said that unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza, allows the UN to bring in aid and takes other steps towards long-term peace, the UK will recognise a Palestinian state in September. So what does this mean, and what would recognition actually change? Well, recognition is largely a symbolic action. It doesn't mean that borders or a capital city are created. But it is a signal to the world and to Israel that a country thinks the state of Palestine has a right to exist and to run itself. There are also a few practical things that would actually change. It could mean Palestine would get an ambassador in London, and if the UN recognises it as a state, which is unlikely right now for a reason we'll come on to in a second, Palestine may move from an observer state to a full-time member of the United Nations, giving it a greater voice at the Assembly. So which countries already recognise a Palestinian state? Well, if the UK were to recognise Palestine, it would join around 140 other UN members who already do so. Those include India, Russia, Spain and Ireland. But a key hurdle stands in Palestine's way of becoming a fully recognised state, and that is the United States of America, who as a founding member of the United Nations have a right to veto, something it has used in the past. So why has the UK said this now? Well, it's about building as much pressure on Israel. This move follows a similar statement by France and may start to build a bit of momentum internationally before the United Nations General Assembly in September. It's also about a push to what's called a two-state solution, which many countries think is the right way to end this conflict. This is where an independent Palestinian state would be established alongside Israel. But there are big problems with this idea, especially over what the borders of this state would be. Likely, it would include the Gaza Strip and West Bank. But would it also include East Jerusalem, for example, a highly contested area? Then there is the question of Israeli settlements. Over many years, they have grown to include over 500,000 Israelis currently living in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. These are illegal under international law, but what do you do with those people? There is also the issue of who would be recognised as leading any state. The Palestinian Authority currently governs much of the West Bank, while Hamas, deemed a terrorist organisation by the British government, has de facto control in Gaza. But as ITV News international editor Emma Murphy says, UK recognition would still be a major step.
Well, I think to truly appreciate the significance and the symbolism of what we've heard from the Prime Minister, you have to go back in history to 1917 and the Balfour Declaration, when the British government expressed in a paragraph of 67 words their wish to see the Jewish people have a national home in Palestine. And those words are seen as pretty much the crux of the Arab-Israeli conflict that we are still seeing today. And so it is incredibly significant that this is a decision that has been made by the British government, and that will not be lost on Israel or other world powers.
So how has Israel responded to the Prime Minister's statement? Well, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu opposes the recognition of a Palestinian state and the idea of a two-state solution. He responded in the strongest terms, saying the move rewards Hamas's monstrous terrorism and punishes its victims. So it looks very unlikely that the Israeli government will meet Starmer's conditions, meaning UK recognition of a Palestinian state may soon be a reality.